Thank you for coming, firstly, and also I want to thank Ladenburg for having us here. And let me just ask, are we live on the video? Okay, great. Okay, good. So I guess I've got 25 minutes, and I was a little late, so maybe 23 minutes. I'll try to be succinct on an introduction and overview to Ondas, and leave time for some questions, okay? So just by the way, Eric Brock, CEO and Chairman of Ondas. So Ondas provides mission-critical, data-intensive technology platforms. We are targeting critical industries. That's military, homeland security, it's public safety, it's the protection and security of critical infrastructure, critical industrial assets. These are very large markets, and I'll dig into them just a bit. We've invested heavily in these technology platforms, over $300 million, and they're special. Right? I'll describe them in some detail. We are, as a company, transitioning from this technology development cycle to platform adoption. So you're seeing us drive significant revenue growth starting actually this year, right? Real time. And I'll touch on that, of course. We have two business units. We have Ondas Networks and Ondas Autonomous Systems, or OAS. OAS is our drone platforms. I'm going to spend most of my time today, in the interest of time, talking about what we're doing in the drone business. That's taking the lead in terms of adoption, and we have a very dynamic story there. But what I want to highlight is that Ondas Networks is providing a wireless connectivity platform for critical industrial markets, starting with the railroads. So you think about the Class 1 railroads. These are national operating networks, and we are the upgrade path with our software-defined radio capability, which we've taken to the IEEE, work with industry around this new standard called 802.16T. We've branded that as .16. So this is an upgraded network capability so the railroads can drive more intelligence into their systems along the track, on the locomotive, at crossings and waysides, et cetera. So we can run trains faster and more safely. And this is a really, really important capability that the railroads need because when I'm talking about replacing legacy networks and upgrading, I'm talking about technologies that are 30, 40 years old. So you know, it's a huge opportunity. But like I said, I'm going to focus on the drone business in the interest of time. What we have going on here in the drones is very dynamic. So we have dual-use autonomous drone platforms. We've got our Optimus system. That's the big system on the bottom. I'll actually, on the next slide, go into more details. Then we have the Iron Drone Raider. The Iron Drone Raider is a counter-drone platform. That's the quote-unquote hard kill mitigation or interception of the threat, the hostile drone threats. And then we've got what we announced earlier this year. These are modular systems. We might touch on that. I want to highlight that on the Iron Drone platform we announced earlier this year, we're going to make this more kinetic, and I look forward to sharing more details as we go through the year. That's essentially on the drone side going to be our third platform, and we could have more capabilities, expansions from there even. We have, since the third quarter of 2024, begun to enter and expand our activities in military and homeland security. That's starting with a major military, as we've described it, in the Middle East. And since then, as we've gotten in the field and operational with these systems protecting military bases and borders, we have secured two new customers, so two new programs. And these two new customers and programs are specific to the Iron Drone. So there's one with a NATO member country that we've announced in the last month or so. And on our earnings call last week, I spoke of a new customer, but we're sort of at the moment not able to go into great details. But the point is, we're showing platform adoption, and these markets are very big. And if you think about trends in defense technologies, how we're going to more autonomy, you know, I think we're really positioned very well. Of course, you know, we've got a big focus on operationalizing the business, you know, making that transition from the technology development cycle to that global deployment and service delivery. We have guided to what would be a record revenue over 3.5 times 2024, so that's $25 million. Our backlog coming into the year, specific to the OAS business, was $10 million, and we've grown that to over over 16 million, as we announced on our earnings call last week. These are the systems, okay? Optimus System, this is, they're both fully autonomous, right? Optimus System is what you can think of as ISR. It's intelligence, it's surveillance, reconnaissance. It's used for perimeter security of critical assets like a military base or a border. Or a maritime port, an oil refinery, any place really you would have security guards and cameras where you're protecting a critical asset. The drone is a force multiplier, but this is drone infrastructure. It's a very special system. And we'll talk about where it's being adopted, but again, it's sort of public safety is another big use case, as well as critical assets. The Iron Drone Raider, as I mentioned earlier, is the mitigation of the threat of a hostile drone. So in a layered security system, you're going to start with your detection. We see the drone threat, we identify it. There are capabilities that are part of these layers around electronic warfare, as we call it. That's the jamming and spoofing of radio signals and GPS, so you can take the drone down potentially. There's a lot of, this is a bit of a cat and mouse game. So the last line of defense in many ways is the interception capability, and we have a very special system. So I'm going to show a video. This is kind of a mashup of both of the systems, and if I press go, will it play? Oh, here we go. Oh, no audio. The sound's cool, but maybe I can tell you what you're saying. That's the Optimus system. This is drone infrastructure. You install this, both of these systems are operated remotely. It can be a mile away, it can be 100 or even 1,000 miles away. These systems are autonomous. They're designed for specific purposes, and they do them, right? So it's really just oversight, by the operator. So in the Iron Drone context, we use ground radar to detect the threat. When the threat's detected, this is a super aggressive drone, super fast. It goes out to the general vicinity. We have intelligent navigation on the drone. We don't need GPS or radio. What we do is we find the drone in space, okay, or in the air, and we go hunt it and attack it with a net. And this is an example of what we're showing here is just a moment ago is what we're doing in Dubai with the Dubai police, where they're deploying this as drone infrastructure. Dubai has deployed 12 of these units. Okay? They're going to go to at least 22 for ubiquitous citywide coverage so they can be first response to incidents. All right, a little bit more about the markets. As I said, it is defense and homeland security. We're seeing a big, certainly a demand cycle here for both platforms. Public safety as well. Drone as first responder or DFR. You're seeing the police, law enforcement, fire. They're migrating from carrying the drone in the trunk to installing the infrastructure because they're seeing all the value that the drone can provide is that initial situational awareness when there's an incident, and then of course protecting critical assets. Increasingly, whether it's a data center, a maritime port, an airport, protecting those are not just interest of the operators of these facilities. It also comes into the purview of the DoD, right? These critical infrastructure assets. Huge markets. This is just the TAMs for Homeland Security and military, $5.3 million combined. I've told you some of the use cases. Some context here. This was our initial customer reference. We've captured our first customer for both platforms in the third quarter of last year. The TAMs in this country, it's a relatively small country, easily hitting that $850 million level. When we think about securing a program, what we're doing is on these programs of record is you capture the program, you operationalize, you build your sustainment activities, and then you grow that program over time. So we're talking also in the terms of obtainable markets or SOMs, and that's some metrics there. We do have a partnership with Palantir. It's starting with some of the operational capabilities that they're bringing in and around supply chain and field services. But there's also quite a bit of opportunity to integrate in other, what I'll call operational capabilities and even go to market. So we'll see where we head with that. I'm going to skip this one in the interest of time. Thinking about the counter drone market, I referenced earlier, there's layers here. The benefits of the interception is low collateral impact. So when you're protecting a critical asset, it might be a military base, it might be an oil refinery, it might be an NFL stadium, okay? These are where, or airports. These are where people are live. Low collateral impact is important. So we're capturing that bad drone with a net. You can put a parachute on it, lowers the impact on the ground. And of course, you're protecting not just the facilities, but you're protecting the people. And then I'll also add that some of these jamming technologies, and you've seen this recently, there's been a lot of press around some of the DoD activity. We don't exactly know what, but maybe they're testing some of the electronic warfare systems. What we found is you're doing that, you're impacting commercial aviation. So you don't want to jam GPS when you're landing planes. That's not good. You don't want to jam GPS when there's a security event, because then the officers can't communicate with each other or the public radio signal. So again, these defenses need to be layered, and increasingly you're seeing mitigation, and the ability for companies like ours to provide this capability is really valuable. I talked a little bit about this. So this is infrastructure, right? So we're installed typically at a critical location, although we can put this in a vehicle as well, so it can be mobile. We've got up to 3 of these racer drones. We call it the Raider. They sit in the dock, and that detection, when you detect the threat, this can be deployed automatically. There's nobody operating, no one at sticks controlling these drones. They're all autonomous, and it heads to that threat. We know it's coming from the north at 700 feet of altitude, at 70 miles an hour. We interpolate, we go out there. And then mid-flight, we've got, as I said, sensor packages, including micro radar, that allow us to identify the threat, hunt it, and capture it, and this is very, very sophisticated. And this is sort of what I showed, the different phases of navigation here. This is a super intelligent drone hitting these new requirements around operating without GPS or radio links. This is a little bit about the competition. I'll transition now to our Optimus system. So as I said, this is also drone infrastructure. This is used for drone as first responder, ISR type of applications, securing the perimeter, but also intelligence. So we've got a robotic arm in this docking station that can swap batteries and swap payloads. What that means, when you swap batteries, it's available 24/7 for critical services. And when we swap payloads, we're not just taking the video, which is typically going to be the most valuable function, but we can put a LiDAR sensor, a high-resolution optical sensor, a thermal sensor, do mapping, surveying. So you can use this, say, in construction when you want to manage your project. You know where you are versus your plans. You're documenting compliance with environmental standards. You're documenting compliance with how the quality of the work that's being done. So it's a very, very unique system. In terms of, again, the autonomy here, this is installed, nobody touches it, right? Nobody's changing batteries, nobody's on sticks. These are all programmed. Or the operator will say, hey, if it's emergency response, they'll click on a map, say, I need to go here. The drone can intelligently navigate, avoid buildings, and it's super sophisticated. We are deploying this, as I said, I'll repeat myself, but I want to emphasize, in the city of Dubai as networked infrastructure, all being remotely operated and patrols overseen from a central location, okay? It's incredibly valuable for public safety. I'll also highlight, I talked about construction management. We have a system here with a large semiconductor company that's got, just building. These are massive facilities that are being built over many, many years, and we're providing just that. It's perimeter security, it's safety applications, and it's helpful. It's a data service for construction management. So I talked a bit about this. Okay. So the outlook. We've shared our outlook. As I said, we're starting to get platform adoption, and I do think these are markets with S-curves. They're huge markets. The demand is there today. The requirements or the capabilities have not been there. We're now operational, so like many technology platforms, we do think there's an S-curve adoption cycle, and I think we're going to demonstrate that as we're moving through the year and into 2026. Again, a little bit about our guidance. We are growing customers, growing programs, and that's going to give us layers of new business to drive that really robust curve over the next several years and then some. The big picture on the drone side, this is a really attractive sector. The market's huge. The value the drones are bringing to commercial, industrial, military, homeland security markets is massive. So I encourage you to really spend some time and dig in and understand that cycle. But as we're putting the business together, it is about that. It's grabbing the customers, capturing the customers, and then expanding with them and getting that recurring revenue, even sustainment. And as we're doing that, we're going to have to localize our business in every region of the world, right? So, of course, in the U.S., we have a business here called American Robotics as part of our OAS business unit. And then in Israel, we have a company called Airobotics, which is a developer of these capabilities. But as we're going into Europe, U.S., Asia, even in the Middle East, you'll see us have some pretty impressive partners join us along the way to be a force multiplier and accelerate the growth of these systems. So that's that. How much time do we have left? Looks like we got 9 minutes, so I did pretty good. Any questions?
Just a question on the autonomous system that you have.
Yeah.
Are they hardwired or are they solar? How are batteries charged?
Oh, so let me see this. Okay, so on the left-hand side, we've got, as I said, we swapped the batteries. So this is plugged in. We've got a battery management system. In the Optimus system, we have up to 9 batteries that are all being managed for optimal health over time. So you're all set. And this Iron Drone, we don't do the swapping of the battery. So actually, one thing I didn't finish, but I did talk about the reusability. But the power requirement here is much lower. We just have to be ready to go when a threat's identified. But the drone will come back. It doesn't land in the dock. So the Optimus system, the drone will come back. It'll land. For this one, if it's deployed, it'll land next to the dock, and then one of the operators will can put a new net on it, and it's good to go again. But the power requirement, as I said, is much lower.
Just to follow
I'm sorry, it would recharge when we put it in there, so we don't swap batteries.
on Optimus system.
Yeah.
Great capabilities. You mentioned they have potential for optics.
Yep.
What about, can they be armed?
So yes, they both can be armed. It's unlikely you would use the Optimus system in that context. There's other form factors and systems that would probably be preferred. However, I will say that, and I highlighted this at the opening, is that we have a third platform essentially under development, and we can carry something what I would call more kinetic. Now, our net is a kinetic system because we've got it's ballistic charge, and we've got the nets are weighted, so we're spreading the net out over the target. But yeah, we can carry and do some really special things with this as a offensive capability. Yep.
You mentioned strong growth in your backlog.
Yeah.
How long does it typically take you to flush that backlog out?
So I think the bulk of our backlog today will realize this year. If you think about our production cycles, they're typically going to be 6 months. As we get more scale, perhaps we'll be able to shrink, take that lower. The Iron Drone is going to probably be at the margin a faster turn in terms of production. The Optimus system, that dock is pretty sophisticated, so there's a lot going on there. That's a longer lead time for us on that.
And where's your production facility?
Today they're in Israel, and we are establishing the supply chain capability here. So I expect you to learn more about that as we're moving through the year. It's really important to localize production everywhere. In Europe's going to be the same case for us as we grow. But today it's in Israel, and we have plans and capabilities, and that'll be things we partner on as well. Barry?
Okay, so is there IP around all this, or lots of IP,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's tons of IP, and you think about if I step back and maybe take a higher level view on the drone sector, there's certain drones that are easier to produce than others, and by design, what we call attritable drones, right? Those are one-way drones. They have to be cheap, so you're going to have standardized commercial off-the-shelf parts to be able to take care of most of that, and that's going to drive the cost down. When you start to get to autonomous systems, where you're using docks, you're using navigation that's intelligent without, where you have what we call GNSS complex aerial environments. Those are when the technologies and how you integrate them with software, which of course is AI and machine learning driven. That creates quite a bit of IP. And the other thing you need to know about the drone sector, there's a lot of things, and people are going to, but what's really important is, you'll see our videos, and they're great, but going from the video to operationalizing these platforms in the field, that is not a heavy, that's a heavy lift, okay, extremely heavy. And we've had the benefit of working, particularly with this one customer in the Middle East, where there's an urgency around this, right? So the combat readiness here makes all the difference. So not only is our system built for purpose uniquely, we've had really the privilege and a responsibility to make it operational.
And then the economic model is what, how, big picture, what's the?
So we're selling systems now, but there's multiple, right? So if I talk about Iron Drone, typically the military or homeland security customer, critical infrastructure protector, they're going to own and operate. So we'll sell a system, there's recurring revenue in and around, spares, upgrades, et cetera. There's sustainment type of activities. And, I think from a growth standpoint, for us to fully penetrate this market, you're talking about 10 years or more. I mean, there's so many critical locations. So that's going to, that's a big cycle. And the margins are really good. What I've said is they're, at least 50%. Iron Drone margins are probably going to be better than Optimus. But I want to be a little careful with sort of, maintain flexibility around pricing strategies. The Optimus system can be purchased or as a service. So I gave you an example of a semiconductor company who's deploying this for a better part of, I think 6 or 7 years now. Same system, by the way. So we installed this 6 or 7 years ago. This is not just industrial grade. This is military grade, unique. Okay. On that system, we did close to $500,000 a year of service. So we're providing the remote operating capability. We're providing the data tools for a portal or in and around the construction management. So the unit economics on that are very, very substantial. And I think the way you look at the market for Optimus is, as I said, military, homeland security. They're typically going to own and operate because these are mission critical, really sensitive operations. On the other hand, more commercial and industrial and infrastructure related businesses will probably gravitate to the as a service model, the drone as a service model that I described.
The radar system for the Iron Drone, is that your own proprietary?
Great question. So no, it's not. And we've been specifically, we talk about modularity in these systems. It includes the associated elements that are critical to its operation. So the Iron Drone can be integrated with virtually any detect technology. So there's many different radar providers. Now, when we go to the U.S. with the DoD, they're going to have preferred U.S. vendors we need to integrate with, and we've already started a bunch of that. Same thing in Europe, same thing in Middle East and Asia. So there's a lot of flexibility here for us to to work to what the customers prefer.
What's your customer, can you touch on what your customer concentration looks like right now? And
Yeah.
then as you flush out the backlog and beyond, how does that?
Yeah, so we've got, as I said, of the 3 customers and 4 programs, one customer has 2 programs, and that's where we started in the second half of last year. That's a major military in the Middle East. And then we've since added, just in the last, it's more context. So when we secured those first programs, we've had a very heavy lift to get those into the field and operational. And as we've done that, we have now the ability to start marketing. What we didn't want to do is operationalize with multiple customers at the same time and solve that same problem in all parts of the world. We've got operational. Now we're scalable. So you've seen us at what we describe as a NATO member country. And then there's another major homeland security group. And I'm going to be careful with describing who it is because it's sensitive at the moment. But I'm sure we will be able to share that at some point. And then if you look at our pipeline, we see quite a bit of expansion really in most theaters. I think we've got to be thoughtful as to kind of focusing on the best opportunities because the demand is everywhere. And I'll also add, the customer, so in a certain, to a certain extent, on the Iron Drone side, you're gonna be talking about Homeland Security, military, so, we're not gonna come to the US and sort of have, dozens of customers for that, right? It's gonna be really federally focused. And I got, 30 seconds. On the other hand, the Optimus system is, same, but also major commercial markets. So am I done?
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much.